I'm Dr. Nathilee Caldeira. I am trained as a clinical psychologist. I am licensed in New York, and I wanted to talk about my journey as a clinical psychologist as well as a group practice owner. And so I have been licensed in New York for the past 18 years. This will be my 19th year. And I have owned and managed a group private practice for the past 10 years. I would like to talk about my journey from Guyana. I was born in Guyana in South America, and I finished high school there. I spent the first 2 decades of my life there. I had my first jobs there, and where I worked as a bank teller at what was then Barclays Bank. And I actually loved that job. I also worked summer jobs as a exam marker during my teenage years. And when I got to America, I was very lucky, very, very lucky. My grandmother helped us immigrate here, and we were very lucky in that we were able to travel as a family to New York. Oftentimes, people are not as lucky. Families are separated. The parents come first, the children later. Because my grandmother had made that sacrifice earlier on, we were able to travel together as a family. So we arrived in New York, very freezing day in February, and it was a shock. It really was a shock how different life was going to be. It took me a lot of years to adjust, but eventually I did start working. 3 weeks after I got here, I worked at the Brooklyn office of Guyana Airways, which was actually a great job because I worked alongside a fellow representative who I had attended high school with. And the best time was usually during the holidays. I spent about 2 years there, so not that many holidays, but I did enjoy the holidays because lots of people that I know were traveling home. And so I got to talk about Guyana all day long, which I really had a hard time leaving. And so it was really enjoyable to have that job. I left that job mainly because I experienced something very traumatic while at that job. It was the late 1980s, and Brooklyn was pretty rough, at least that part of Brooklyn. This was Flatbush area. The Guyana Airways office was attacked at gunpoint, robbed at gunpoint. And this happened twice within the frame of 2 weeks. And after it happened the second time, where I thought that I would die, literally, because the robbers had guns and were threatening to kill us if we didn't hand over the money. At that time, the tickets were primarily bought with cash, so there was often a lot of cash in the office. So after the second incident, I decided to resign, and my fellow high school classmate also decided to resign, and I started Brooklyn College. And I will continue in another video.